My parents did an incredible job of helping me build healthy associations with money. It wasn't just about learning numbers, it was about understanding how balance and intentionality shaped our financial lives. Those early lessons set me up for success and helped me navigate the real world with more confidence when it came to money. And it's a big reason why I'm so excited to share today's sponsor with you, Acorns Early. Acorns Early is a smart money app and a debit card for kids that helps them learn the value of money. Kids can spend what they earn with their very own debit card. They'll love the new sense of independence and getting to choose from 35 plus customizable card designs. Plus, parents can keep track of where and when their kids are spending. You can get real-time spend notifications, set your kids' spending limits, and instantly block lost or stolen cards. They might not realize it now, but starting to invest early is going to have a huge impact on their financial future. And the best part? It's simple. And Acorns Early is such a smart, accessible tool to do that. If you're looking for a way to make a real difference in the financial future of the younger people in your life, Acorns Early is an amazing place to start. Ready to help your kids learn the value of money? Just head to acornsearly.com/diaries or download the Acorns Early app to get started. Sign up now and your first month is on us. T&Cs apply. Monthly subscription fee starting from $5 per month unless canceled.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, onabotulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Welcome back to the Murder Diaries. I'm Paige.
And I'm Natalie.
If you want to listen ad-free, make sure you pop over to our Patreon, patreon.com/The Murder Diaries pod. Just 19 years old, smart, beautiful, athletic, Sydney West had her whole life ahead of her. She was brimming with potential. But on September 30th, 2020, she Ubered from her hotel in downtown San Francisco to the Golden Gate Bridge for an early morning run. She disappeared into thin air despite the bridge being crowded with other runners and walkers. She's never been seen since. San Francisco police wrote it off as a suicide. Her family doesn't believe that she would leave behind everyone she's loved so much. No suspects have ever been named. No arrests have ever been made. Her family has hired a private investigator to continue the investigation when police wouldn't. But they are still left with far more questions than answers. They just want justice for Sydney, or at least closure. This is her story.
Used to think it's in my head, but I'm walking with the dead.
Sydney Caitlin West was born on July 11th, 2001 to her father Jay and her mother Kimberly. She grew up an hour outside of San Francisco, California in Walnut Creek with both parents and her younger sister named Faith. Staying nearby San Francisco, they lived briefly in Castro Valley and then eventually settled in Pleasanton, California. She was a bright student at Donlin Elementary and Hart Middle School, and then attended Foothill High School for her freshman and sophomore year. Growing up in Pleasanton, Sydney was a well-rounded kid. She was intelligent, athletic, and creative. Friends and family describe her as having a cheerful personality who always made everyone around her feel good. Her passion for the environment started early. For example, she talked her mom into starting a compost pile using food scraps that would normally just be tossed in the trash. Sydney's mom said the following: she was a very intelligent person. As a child, she had her hand in so many different things. She was a kid who would sit for hours and just draw or construct and just create. Sydney loved spending time with her sister Faith and the family dogs. Sports were also a big part of her life. She played softball and volleyball in middle school and throughout high school, where she became the co-captain of the volleyball team.
Sydney had a deep love and talent for the arts. She played the piano and also wrote songs and sang. She even performed some locally in bars when she was in high school. Her dad said the crowd loved her and she was incredibly well received. In fact, you can find recordings of her performing original songs online.
Halfway through high school, the Wests moved east to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. When it came time to apply for colleges, Sydney applied to almost entirely Ivy League schools or similar. While she didn't get into any Ivy Leagues, she was admitted to the University of California, Berkeley, which is one of, if not the best, school in the University of California system. As somebody who is a California native, I can vouch for this, and it's often considered a West Coast Ivy League. In addition to its highly regarded academics, UC Berkeley is also located not far from where Sydney grew up in the Bay Area. So you could see how this would have been a really comfortable choice for her. She officially chose UC Berkeley and was set to begin in the fall of 2020. Keep in mind, this is the height of the COVID pandemic and all of the challenges that pandemic presented, especially to college students. She graduated from Carborough High School in 2019 in Chapel Hill and then decided to take a year off, a gap year, to travel and experience life. She played beach volleyball in Australia and attended a yoga retreat in Mexico. When she eventually began at UC Berkeley, she planned to live in the dorms, but because of the pandemic, none of her classes met in person. They were all online. She had not yet chosen a major, but career-wise, she was leaning towards medicine. The move-in process for the dorms was a little complicated and challenging because of strict COVID guidelines that had been put in place to keep everybody safe. Her father remembers it as a pretty tough process, as so many things in the pandemic were, again, in order to keep everybody safe while we figured out what was going on. He said, "You weren't allowed to meet people in the hallways. As you can imagine, that would really put a damper on the excitement of being a freshman and being away from home for the first time. It would also make it difficult to meet new people." I know for me personally, I met two of my closest college friends on the first day of classes, and one at an early welcome program in the dorms. So Sydney would have missed out on a ton of opportunities to make friends and bond with her fellow freshmen. I can't imagine how frustrating and limiting that experience was. Her father, Jay, said, "In all honesty, I was incredibly worried about her." Her mom, Kimberly, said Sydney was really struggling with the isolation in the dorms and taking only online courses. They weren't allowed to have roommates, and all the students lived alone. She was a naturally outgoing person, and being kept away from others was hard on her. With all that in mind, Sydney decided to withdraw and leave UC Berkeley. She planned to return in fall of 2021 to try it again, and hopefully that time, restrictions would allow her more of the college experience that she was looking for. Having grown up in the Bay Area, she knew many people there. After withdrawing from school, she stayed with several friends in the area after moving out of her dorm. She eventually found a more stable living situation, staying with some close family friends in Livermore, California, which is yet again a suburb of San Francisco.
While she waited for the college deferral period to end, she was taking some time to decide her next move. Should she go back and spend time with her family in Chapel Hill, North Carolina? Or maybe stay in San Francisco and find a job? While she was deciding, she went into the city a lot. It was something she really loved doing.
On September 29th, 2020, Sydney went into San Francisco and spent the night in a Hilton hotel room to decompress. Her father, Jay, was in San Diego, about 8 hours south, for business at the time. They talked on the phone the day before she disappeared about where she was and what she was doing. She told her dad that she wanted to come home, but she felt like she let herself and her family down. And Jay remembers that much of his conversation with her was, quote, "Tell me what I can do right now to help you because I love you." Just reminding her that she's got a whole army of people around her who loved her and that she was not alone, and she knew that. Their phone call wrapped up around 4:30 p.m. without much resolution as to what Sydney was going to do next, but Jay expected to speak to her again the next day. However, that was the last time he ever spoke to her. On September 30th, 2020, Kimberly took Sydney's younger sister Faith to school in Chapel Hill and then returned home. Kimberly said it was a pretty regular day. Jay woke up around 7 in his hotel room in San Diego and checked the family's locations. You see, the family all shared their location on their phones with each other, but Sydney's location couldn't be found. He tried calling and texting her, but got no reply.
Jay called Kimberly to ask if she had heard from Sydney. She hadn't. They called the hotel where Sydney was staying, the Hilton in San Francisco's financial district. Sydney's mom checked the family iPad that had access to Sydney's email and bank accounts, just to see if anything strange was going on. She could see that Sydney spent $27.81 on a rideshare around 6 a.m. Records show that she got into the rideshare around 6:25.
I just found out something pretty scary. Your body actually starts accumulating senescent cells as early as your 20s. Did you know that? These cells are also referred to as zombie cells, which again is frightening. These cells stop producing collagen and hyaluronic acid like they used to, and instead they start secreting an inflammatory substance that makes neighboring cells dysfunctional too. There is an answer for these zombie cells though, and it comes from our friends at OneSkin. OneSkin was founded in 2016 by a fabulous all-woman team of scientists with PhDs in skin regeneration, stem cell biology, immunology, and bioinformatics. After testing the efficacy of more than 900 so-called anti-aging peptides, they developed the OS1 peptide, the first ingredient to reverse skin's biological age by reducing the accumulation of senescent cells, which we now know is a key driver of skin aging. OS1 works at the cellular level to improve key aging biomarkers while reducing the visible signs of aging, including lines, wrinkles, and sagging skin. OneSkin's entire R&D process is run in-house, strictly adhering to the rigor of the scientific process from start to finish. Every claim is based on lab or clinical studies and documented. OneSkin believes that the purpose of skincare is not just to improve how you look, but to optimize your skin's biology at the cellular level so it's much more resistant to the aging process. We believe in this so much, we're going to link the aforementioned document in today's show notes. OneSkin is the world's first longevity company by focusing on the cellular aspects of aging. OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. Our listeners can get started today with 15% off using code DIARIES at oneskin.co. That's 15% off for our listeners at oneskin.co with code DIARIES. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. So please support us, your favorite podcast, and tell them that we sent you. Join us in investing in the health and longevity of your skin with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit temptationstreats.com to learn more.
That moment when you realize your skincare is actually working. That's Rodan & Fields, the #1 female dermatologist-founded skincare brand in the U.S. Designed by 2 dermatologists who don't just know women's skin, they know how to formulate for it. Rodan & Fields, love what you see. Tap the banner or visit rodanandfields.com/Spotify to get your exclusive welcome offer.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track, and ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
5 immersive worlds, 1 amazing theme park. Get ready to explore the all-new Universal Epic Universe, featuring the wizarding world of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, Super Nintendo World, How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk, and Dark Universe. Epic Universe opens May 22nd at Universal Orlando Resort. Our universe will never be the same. Tickets and packages on sale now at universalorlando.com.
Clorox Sentiva smells like lavender. Cleans like Clorox. And feels like...
All right, that could go on for a while. Experience the long-lasting freshness of Clorox Sentiva. Available in Clorox Sentiva Lavender Scented Bleach. Use as directed.
Sydney had ridden 5.91 miles and 23 minutes away from the Hilton Hotel at 750 Kearny Street in San Francisco to the Crissy Field Golden Gate Bridge area. She visited the Golden Gate Bridge often, so Kimberly didn't think that this was unusual and assumed that Sydney likely went there to exercise. Kimberly said she loved the Golden Gate Bridge. She liked to spend time there. Meanwhile, Jay called his brother Rob to let him know what was going on. Rob, who was at work, lived just south of San Francisco. He said it was stressful and very scary not knowing where she was, and so I met him in San Francisco. As soon as Jay arrived from San Diego, he and Rob went straight to Crissy Field and started looking for her. Rob said, "I know it's kind of crazy, but we had to look. You had to do whatever you could in that moment." The two men stopped and asked around the park to see if anyone had seen her, but of course, because they acted so quickly, they were unprepared and didn't have a flyer with her picture to hand out to people in the park. Jay said, "We felt entirely inadequate, to be honest." 8 hours after her disappearance, Jay and Rob met with police downtown and filed a missing persons report. Kimberly said she felt helpless and out of sorts. It felt very, very surreal. Jay flew back home to North Carolina after being in San Francisco for just one day to be with the rest of his family and to regroup. He says, "My responsibility as a husband and a father was to be there for my family, and it was a very difficult decision to come home because I felt like I was leaving Sydney out there. But we felt like it was better to take a step back and define a strategy of how we were going to find her, because 4 legs in San Francisco aren't going to do it. That was clear."
This is sort of like when you're on a plane and you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first and then help others, because if you don't take care of yourself, you won't have the strength you need to get the important job done, which in this case was to find Sydney.
Crissy Field Park has its own police force called the Golden Gate Bridge Patrol. Because the park is part of the Golden Gate Bridge National Recreation Area, it's considered to be federal land. San Francisco police and the federal agents had to communicate with each other to try to find Sydney. Sydney's family was assigned a San Francisco-based detective, and on October 3rd, 2020, he contacted Jay to inform him that Sydney's black backpack had been found in some bushes near the Golden Gate Bridge. Jay admitted he has still not been able to look in that backpack. Those who did go through the backpack took notice that her phone was missing from it. According to police, there had been no activity on any of her accounts, including her phone, bank, or credit card, and no posts on social media since the morning of September 30th, 2020.
On October 7th, 2020, the San Francisco Police Department reviewed surveillance footage of the bridge, and they spotted Sydney on it. This clue led law enforcement to believe she may have died by suicide. Jay said they were shattered. The family also had a lot of questions about what they saw on the video footage.
Jay said she's not the kind of kid who just throws her relationships away. She never has been. But Sydney suffers from anxiety and depression. She had been struggling with it for a couple years. In order to give even more context to this anxiety and depression, I want to take us back to July of 2020. Sydney and her family were on vacation in Asheville, North Carolina. Where they were staying, there was a little boathouse where you could jump about 15 feet into the water. Sydney asked her dad what he thought about her jumping into the water with her floaty on, and he told her not to. He thinks that she thought he was just kidding, though, because she jumped anyways. When she came up out of the water, her lip was bleeding and she had gotten a concussion. She wasn't feeling well for a bit after getting that concussion. It was just a tough time for Sydney, and her mood swings were in full effect. Jay said that her personality was different after that. He said that concussions can be a trigger for people with anxiety and depression, and I think that's what we saw. Now back to the investigation. The family was not allowed to view any of the bridge's video footage at that time, and as far as we know, it has never been released to the public. Jay said that it wasn't a smooth process. We literally had to scream bloody murder at the commissioner through a very senior level attorney general to get them to move. Other connections came through, and Jay and his brother were allowed to finally watch the video footage from the bridge. He was also able to gather Sydney's belongings from the police department. Jay said that it was hands down the worst day of my life. While Jay still hasn't been able to go through her backpack, after they received it, Sydney's Uncle Rob went through it for him. It just had some notebooks and art supplies and some clothes in it. There was nothing shocking or any clues that might help them determine what happened to Sydney or where she was. Now back to the CCTV footage from the bridge. Sydney was seen coming up the south span of the bridge, closest to the city side. She walks along with her phone in her hand, and Jay says that you could actually see that the phone was lit up. She then turns around, goes back down, and comes back up without her backpack. So it's hard to tell what Jay means by coming up the south span and goes back down as he describes Sydney's movements, but it sounds like to me that she's coming up from an area that still has some land attached to the bridge before it's solely over water, especially since this is the area where her backpack was found. It sounds like she went down there to hide her backpack at the edge of the bridge so that she didn't have to take it along with her. Regardless of exactly what those movements were, after, Sydney begins running for exercise, and a camera further down the bridge catches footage of her doing this. It was foggy and dark because of the early morning hour, but the cameras captured her 3 different times. There was also smoke from a nearby wildfire, which contributed to the poor visibility. It seems pretty clear, though, that, again, Sydney walked up, put that backpack down wherever that was, and back up, and then took a run on the bridge. What's important to note here is that there was no footage of Sydney exiting the bridge, and this is the main reason the family believes that law enforcement is assuming that Sydney may have jumped. There were a lot of people on the bridge at the same time as Sydney, though, and no one reported seeing that.
After watching the video with how busy the bridge was that morning, Jay doesn't believe that no one would have seen her and reported if she jumped off the bridge. Regardless, the police basically said that the case is open, but we're not investigating it. Jay said, "There isn't a shred of evidence that she went over the rail of that bridge." When Paige and I started the Murder Diaries, it seemed like we had to figure it all out on our own. Scripts, setup, recording schedule, logos. It was super overwhelming, and every day seemed to introduce a new decision that needed an answer now. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. From household names like Skims and Rhode to brands just getting started. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand's style. You can accelerate your content creation because Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/murderdiaries. Go to shopify.com/murderdiaries. That's shopify.com/murderdiaries.
Ladies, you'll end up shopping for your guy's deodorant, right? So try Degree's Original Cool Rush. You see, last year, Degree changed the formula, and men were mad. One guy even started a petition. So Degree admitted they messed up and brought the Original Cool Rush scent back. It's clean, crisp, and actually smells like someone you want to cuddle. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So toss one in your cart and find out why it's the best-selling men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory.
Faraday presenta Ojos con Alergia y Picazón contra el jardinero. Y el ganador es Faraday Extra Fuerte. Para aliviar la picazón de los ojos por alergia, actúa más rápido y supera a Claritin y Flonase aún a las 24 horas. Faraday, adelante.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. 3 couples, 4 vacations, a lot to unpack. Watch The Four Seasons, a new series starring comedy favorites Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, and more in a hilarious and heartfelt love letter to long-term relationships. Based on the original Alan Alda film. Watch The Four Seasons, streaming now only on Netflix.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. Goldbelly ships Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garden's famous cakes. So, if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's goldbelly.com, promo code GIFT.
Morning decisions. A creamy mocha frappuccino drink? A sweet vanilla? Maybe a smooth caramel? Or that white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Start your day with bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drinks. Pick up a bottle near you wherever you buy your groceries.
With authorities not going above and beyond to help find Sydney, her family felt like they were on their own at this point. Rob, Jay's brother, would kayak out in the water near the bridge, just looking for his niece or proof that she had jumped off. The Golden Gate Bridge is one of the world's most well-known landmarks, but sadly, it's also well known as a place to complete suicide. The Los Angeles Times reported that since the bridge was first opened, a staggering 1,800 deaths can be directly linked to it, more than any other bridge in the country. On October 14th, 2020, Sydney had been missing for a solid 2 weeks. The family was hard at work putting flyers together, getting the word out, and researching different avenues and organizations they could partner with to help find her. They also hired a private investigator, Scott. Scott spoke with the doorman at the Hilton. This doorman confirmed that Sydney had ordered an Uber ride and said that the two had a great conversation while she waited for the Uber to pick her up. When the doorman was asked why he remembered Sydney, because he's a doorman who sees thousands of hotel guests come and go, he said she was tall, pretty, and had a great personality and was comfortable talking to people. Sydney clearly stuck out to the doorman, and Scott's conversation with him led him to believe that there was nothing out of the ordinary with Sydney that morning, and she gave no indication that she'd planned to complete suicide. Scott also spoke with the San Francisco Police Department, but they refused to give him the rideshare's name or phone number. The police said that they'd already talked to the Uber driver and had, quote, interviewed him at length, and that they'd already cleared him of any wrongdoing. He was not considered a suspect. In fact, the driver was upset to hear she was missing. He went on to confirm that nothing seemed out of the ordinary during their ride.
Scott told Fox News Digital, "It was foggy, but she kind of disappears into the fog. You would think if somebody went and crawled up on the rails with all those people and bike riders, somebody would have either called, which never happened, or somebody would have tried to talk to her and try to come forward with all that publicity. And that never happened."
Scott thinks that Sydney took her phone because she wanted it with her, which would be normal in order to listen to music or podcasts while exercising. Her backpack was hidden because she had already checked out of the hotel and therefore had to take it with her, but she hid it in the bushes so that she could easily go on her run and come back to it, which obviously she wouldn't have wanted to carry it around with her while she was on her run. The Coast Guard told Scott that they did not receive any reports of anything unusual or calls from the public that could be related to Sydney or her disappearance. They assured Scott that if someone jumped off the bridge, there was a high probability that the body would show up and they would hear about it. This is true when bodies are dumped in water. They do sink at first, but then eventually they float. So the Coast Guard would see Sydney's body if it was in the water eventually. Scott believes that Sydney's case may be an abduction because she was young and beautiful. He's interviewed over 100 people in the area, including sex workers, to see if they knew of any traffickers who might have taken Sydney. The people he talked to also took flyers and asked around and kept in touch with Scott. Jay said, "We know there was a lot of pedestrian, car, and bicycle traffic on the Golden Gate Bridge the morning Sydney disappeared. Someone may have seen something. Any piece of information could help lead us to Sydney." The family has also linked up with an organization that deals with sex trafficking, even though they didn't feel this situation was leading towards that. Scott and Sydney's family also do not discount her concussion from July of 2020. They wonder if she could have had an episode, such as a seizure or some kind of other incident that would have caused a lapse in memory. Scott says, "To me, it's as plausible as the alternative." You see, Sydney had shown signs of post-concussion syndrome, which can lead to symptoms like dizziness, headaches, memory loss, anxiety and depression, even amnesia, and that can last for several years. Her family created the Find Sydney West Facebook page on October 9th, 2020. There, they posted lots of content in hopes that someone would see something that might jog a memory or make others more aware of her case. They also established findsydneywest.com to further share relevant information about her case, including posting YouTube videos and news articles. An electronic billboard space on Interstate 80 in Berkeley, heading in the direction of San Francisco, and on the 680 heading north into the city from the South Bay area, which is like San Jose, that area, were also secured to help raise awareness. Tons of people commute on these freeways every day and would see it. Sydney's parents released a statement saying holidays and milestones come and go while we continue to feel Sydney's absence continuously. We remain hopeful that someone knows something that will be helpful in finding her.
Then in April of 2021, Sydney's mom received some creepy texts. One said, "As much as we want to let her go, we don't want to go to prison. Call the police and we've got a problem. Just so you know, she's pregnant." Another one said, "She actually followed us willingly at first. I mean, she was so beautiful we couldn't resist. Now she's just a liability."
The text continued on, saying more awful things like Sydney was going to be sent to Mexico and have her organs harvested. Sydney's family sent the screenshots of these texts and the phone number to the police. Sadly, it turned out not to be actual kidnappers, but just a sick individual who was either trying to get attention or just be awful towards Sydney's loved ones. A further motive behind the text has never been confirmed. There were several reported sightings of Sydney in April of 2021. In the Santa Cruz, California area alone, there were multiple separate reports of seeing her. Many of these reports reported seeing her singing and playing the guitar by a statue in Santa Cruz. Sydney had never played the guitar, so her family was a bit skeptical, but also kept an open mind, thinking it was possible she could have learned how to play during the several months that she had been missing. Sydney had learned how to surf in Santa Cruz in the past, and she loved the area, so this, of course, was intriguing. Friends and family went to Santa Cruz to follow up on the lead, and from the back, the woman they saw did look a lot like Sydney, but it wasn't her. The family friend took pictures and spoke with the woman in question, but it was definitely not Sydney. On November 5th, 2021, there was another possible sighting of Sydney at a San Francisco McDonald's on Bayshore Boulevard. Pictures were sent, and the detective agreed that it did look a lot like her. The young woman does seem a little lost, or like something's a bit off with her in the picture. Jay's initial reaction was, quote, "Oh my God, that looks exactly like her." But Kimberly, on the other hand, just didn't feel, quote, as a mom, it was her. Jay said, "In the end, we couldn't agree, but I think I eventually took her opinion. It wasn't her, but it looked exactly like her." The San Francisco Police Department said, "This missing persons case is still an open investigation. At this time, we do not have any evidence that foul play was involved. We do not have any updates to release at this time." Jay said, "Being Sydney's father is the greatest joy in my life. Please help me find her. There's just a lack of evidence that she's not with us anymore. We are going to keep looking." Her mom, Kimberly, said, "I definitely still have hope that Sydney is out there. If or when I see her again, I would tell her that I love her and give her a huge hug and not let go for a long time." The family got an added boost when Sydney's story was spotlighted on a popular show called Disappeared on the Investigation Discovery Network, which we used as a reference for this episode. A Vanishing at the Golden Gate Bridge is the name of the episode and was the first episode of the 11th season.
Kimberly, reflecting on the experience of filming the episode, said, "It was very difficult. It was very nerve-wracking as well. As a parent, you need to do everything you can, so I was thankful for the opportunity. We know it wasn't going to be easy. We had to go through and go back in time. All of that was just extremely exhausting. But I felt proud, I guess that's the word, that I got through it."
Scott explained that following the episode of Disappeared, he received hundreds of calls, some from well-wishers, but also lots of fresh leads. He followed a lead to a woman in West Virginia who resembled Sydney and even had the same first name, but in the end, he said it wasn't our Sydney. Jay told Fox News, "Lots of people have been like, well, it's obvious what happened. She was on the Golden Gate Bridge, but her being my daughter and knowing how she feels about her sister and family and all the things that she was looking forward, I just find it hard to believe she would just leave all that." A $25,000 reward stands for any information that helps find Sydney West. At the time of her disappearance, Sydney was 5'10", 130 pounds, with light brown hair and blue eyes. Anyone with information about Sydney West is asked to contact private investigator Scott Dudek at 925-705-8328 or Dudek.associates@gmail.com. That's DUDEK.associates@gmail.com.
That's it for this week's case coverage. Be sure to follow us on social media at the Murder Diaries Pod. We're everywhere: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You can also listen to all cases and all unscripted episodes ad-free on Patreon. And until next week,
Stay safe.
Bye.